In this block, we are going to learn about prefixes and suffixes. Firstly, we are going to go over what prefixes and suffixes are for. As you know, they are used to obtain data from families. The objective is to let a user select data in a form, and that, depending on the data selected, some related data appear from the source in the destination. So if we have a family of records, for example, students, what we want in form is that when we select a student, the rest of the data gets filled out automatically. For that, we need to add a prefix in the form. In execution, we will select a student and the rest of the data will get filled out. So we can add a prefix and some suffixes, and depending on what we choose here, we get these ones filled out according to this one, okay? And data is brought from the family of records. In this example, our portal is the data source, but the prefix and suffixes could be connected to external tables. We will learn more about this in the integration courses. Let's see now the different possibilities to configure a prefix in a form. We'll see that depending on the form, we are going to have different options. The possibilities in a form are wide and extensive. We will see the vast majority of them during this course. So for example, we have here employee. So firstly, we have this field. This is the default option. If it is editable, you can select any element. Then we have star message creator. This is for employees' prefixes and also for accounts ones. It is automatically filled in with the employee or account that started the process. Then we have performer. It is automatically filled in with the employee who performs the activity. If the employee changes, the value of the prefix also changes. Administrator. This is only for employee prefixes. This option allows you to select an or a portal family prefix. This field is filled in with the data of the administrator of the selected prefix. For example, I can have a prefix of an account in the form, an employee one, and if I can configure it so the employee prefix is autofill according to the performer of the account selected. The last option, according to relations, this option allows us to fill in a prefix automatically according to other prefixes or relations between families. We also have this option, the viewer, which allowed us to inherit from the dictionary or customize. When we select an element and we click on the viewer, it allows us to see the record of that element. Among the options we can configure, we can choose a pre-filter. We can configure if we want the selector to be an option list, a search, or a tree path. And we can create buttons in browser of elements. There's a lot of options, as we can see. Let's see an example now. So the prefix is automatically filled out according to the relation. So we have a form. Okay, in this case we have the family city. And we have city, okay. And this one is related to the family countries. So as soon as I add a city, it fills out the country. Therefore, I can make this field to be auto-filled looking through the relation. In this case, it would bring the country Spain, yeah? The continent's family is at the same time related to the country's family of records. So the prefix B, in this example, will be autofill to, in this case, Europe. Here, all the families are related. In the second example, we can see a combination that can be filled in through a prefix and also through the relation that the prefix has, which would be in the second case, yeah? For example, if I choose Madrid and the prefix is Spain, as Spain is related with Europe, I could bring the value Europe to. That is to say that a prefix term can be autofilled in different ways. Let's see the viewer now. When I add a viewer in a prefix, it always allows me to see the record of the element I have chosen. The aim of the viewer is to allow the user to see the form of the selected element. In the viewer configuration, we can indicate if the user has permission to edit the data in the origin form or not. Therefore, from the moment that we configure the prefix with the viewer, the icon will appear next to the term. Okay, we can see it here, where we can click to see the record of the element. In this example, as the prefix is the employee Sarah, when we click on the viewer, we will see Sarah's employee record. Depending on the type of prefix, different options might appear. You can make changes in the forms. You can also synchronize. We can configure it so the data can be updated from the form to the family, from the family to the form, from a process panel to the record, and the other way around. Which terms can appear in the viewer? Family element, family relation, prefixes, contacts, suffix, libraries, etc. Let's see the pre-filters now. Pre-filters are configured in the dictionary of terms. Sometimes we need to access data in the tables through a prefix, but the information that the user sees has to be filtered. These filters are defined through an option called pre-filters. As we said before, they are configured in the dictionary of terms and then selected in a form. Let's suppose that we want the prefix in this form to offer us only the articles that belong to the general class and which cost is higher than 350. In this case, out of all the elements of the family, only 4 comply in this condition, the ones highlighted in green. Although, for example, slim phone X belongs to the general class, its price is lower. So both conditions have to be compliant. That's what is not here. So when I press here to look for the article, I will only include on the list the ones that are included in that pre-filter. We have a lot of options to configure in a prefix. We can do it from the form or from the dictionary of terms. We can configure the prefix selector as a search, which is the best option when there are a lot of elements, since it displays a window with filters in order to select a value from a grid. So when I select the option search, like here in this element, and clicking the magnifier icon, the family grid will appear, where I can select the, I don't know, for example, the filters. If there are few elements to select from, the best option is the option list, where you can select the element directly from the list. You can select the prefix using a tree path too. This option stores the entire path in a panel field, and it will only be available when it's enabled in the dictionary of terms. So here we have the alphabet family, where we can find the consonants and the vowels. So let's imagine that I select this element, L. So these 2 fields will be automatically filled. The first one will have consonants and the second one with alphabet. If I choose A instead, the first one will be filled out with the word vowels and then the second one with alphabet. So once the element is selected, the other fields can be filled out following the tree path. Another option in the selector is to create a button to browse element. This feature enables a button to create elements from the selector. This option only appears when the selector is searched. Let's go to the execution now, to the application. Go to tasks, the start process, teacher. Let's go here. And for example, we have here employee. If I click on the magnifying icon, a window opens where I can see, where I can create employees, filter the existing ones. This is again very useful when there's a lot of elements in the family. We click on proceed, we will see all the elements already there, and then we can create one from here. So let's go to the settings now and change the configuration of this field. In this case, I'm going to select Start Message Creator, this option. Save and exit, save, and we will see what happens. Let's go back. Let's start another one, it doesn't matter. And as you can see, everything has already filled out. And this is because we put Start Message Creator. And as we were the ones creating it, it has get our details from our employee record. Okay? In this case, we are on a hill, so these are the details. Let's go back to the configuration again and change it again so we see the different possibilities. Let's go to administrator of. Performer is the same because it's us, so administrator of this time, and then we can select maybe account. Okay, so the administrator of the account. So let's close it. And as we can see, it's not editable anymore. So if we go to the account and select it, so let's say we select supermarket. Can you see? All the data here is been auto-filled. It's been filled up by the system. So if we go to supermarket, to the family of record supermarket, we will see that Elsa, is the administrator of the account. So family of records, accounts. If we were to go to supermarket, can you see Elsa Navas is the responsible. So let's go back to settings again and let's change the employee field to another option so we can see them all. This is the last one. According to relations or prefixes. And in here, we're going to select relations and okay, in this example I can see how these ones are related, so I'm going to choose this one, employee and car dealership. Okay, these are families that are related. Save and exit. Let's refresh and let's see now. Sorry, let's start another one. Maybe it's better. So if I go here and I choose car dealership, maybe this one. Okay, we can see that it has automatically been filled out with Yang Ming, the right employee. So if we were to go to the family of records, we will see that Yang Ming is the car dealerships. Can you see? Yang Min is the responsible one. Okay. Prefixes and suffixes. And let's see now how the account prefix works. As I mentioned before, every time I create a prefix, I need to select a suffix. Only when the prefix is an account prefix, yeah, this one, the suffix will be a contact. So this is one particularity of the account prefixes. Okay, as soon as we create one, the system creates a suffix, a contact one. The contact, at the same time, works as a prefix of its data. So if we go now to the dictionary of terms, select prefix, and this one, I can see, okay, that the system always creates this suffix, the suffix contact. And when I go to record fields, I can see here things like email and that kind of thing. Yeah, those always are related to the account. If I wanted the email of the contact, for example, I wouldn't have to add it here, but from contact fields, okay? So these would be the things that are related to the suffix. So let's go back to where we were. And let's add an account. For example, let's add the same one as before, supermarket. And here we will add a contact. If we click on proceed, we will get all the contacts of that account. In this case, we only have one, so it will be Lara Ruiz. So if we go now to settings, let's have a look at how this is configured. Okay, we have seen all these options before in employee, so let's have a look at viewer. We go to customize it and click in here. Okay, we can add a description. We can select if it's according to class or indicate. Okay, if we select this first option, the form assigned to that class will appear. If we select indicate, I will be able to select it from all the forms that belong to that class. So we can see here 3 of them. So I will choose account viewer. Okay, a new window and save. Save and exit. And if we go back here, so we can see now the viewer next to the account. If we click on here, we will see all the information. And as we can see, there's no action buttons. So we can do anything, just consult the information. How did we configure this? So if we go to structure, I mean it's accounts, here we can see that we have a form for the accounts and a form for contacts. First, let's go to accounts. And let's choose account viewer. Okay. And we just had to do this, that is deselect all the buttons, so we don't have the action buttons in the form. We just leave exit, but we don't have the rest. That way we can only use the form to see the information, but we cannot change anything. If we go to the contacts one now, we can create another similar form, and instead of removing the buttons like before, we can just mark the division as read only. So if we go to the read only form, select the division, we can select read only, and for that we need a condition. So create a condition, panel, let's choose that we don't have an email, because we always have an email, so that is different from empty. Okay, save and exit. We have the condition here, and once we have set up the condition, we can return to settings to adapt viewer to the contact. Let's go this way, might be quicker. Let's go to settings, and let's add a viewer here. So we go to the viewer option. We're going to put indicate. We're going to choose the form, in this case a read only form, visible in execution, yes, and save and exit. So we can see it here. So again, it will happen the same as here. We just could see the information but not edit anything. Apart from seeing how to configure a form with no action bar buttons and a read only one, so it cannot be edited, we can also select a few different options in the contact configuration window. So if we go here again, okay, we can see some more options. Like for example, we can select that we can see the external contacts or not. The account must be pre-selected. This is quite useful. So let's deselect this and see what happens. Save and exit. Let's refresh first. Okay. So let's see how it works. We have the viewer, that we said before. So when we can do it. So when we select an account, then we can choose this, or we can configure it. So when we choose an account role here, as we can see now, because we deselected the option, now we can see all the contacts. So if we choose Paco Vera, for example, we can see that this gets automatically filled up. Okay, because Paco Vera is the contact of our portal account. Okay, so if we deselect that option we saw before, the account must be pre-selected, then we can do this. We can just find the contact and the system will just let us know the account. If we select it, then we will have to do like before, just select the account and then go here and out of all the contacts of this account, choose one. Let's go to see more options for the prefixes and suffixes. They can have pre-filters, like I mentioned before. Pre-filters are configured in the dictionary of terms. So let's go to structure, dictionary, terms, and let's look for a prefix. Proceed. For example, the account one. If we click on it, we can see all the different options and the suffixes. And here we have family pre-filter. So we have yes, click on the pencil icon. Okay, and we have already two here. There's something really important here, and it's that unless a different pre-filter is selected, the first one in this list will be applied by default in all forms. If you do not want to apply conditions in these forms, we recommend creating a pre-filter without conditions first. Then create the other pre-filters with conditions. So it's always very useful to create one that says all, okay, and then create the specific pre-filters we might have in a specific forms, okay? Because if we didn't have this one and I have this one a specific here, because it will be the first one, this one will be the one that will be applied to all the forms, and we might not want this prefilter to be applied all the time. So first we create one that it has all, so it's the default one, and then we create the specific ones. Okay, here we have a suppliers one, and we can create a prefilter now. Also, it is important to know that a prefix doesn't need to have prefilters, it's an extra option. Okay, so let's create one, add prefilter, so we can call it elements, save. Okay, and then we can choose, we can create it by elements, classes, branches, coordinator, administrator. So let's create one by elements now. Proceed, and we're going to choose Carrefour, Dell, and Disma. Class clients, general clients, and supplier clients, and accept selection. And that way we will have created a prefilter. Okay, so if we go back, and we choose this prefilter for a form, we will only see these options. Save. Okay, save. Let's return to settings now. And check the configuration for the term account. Observe, okay, that we have in prefilter, we have all, which is the same as not to have anything. Okay, it's like a non-prefilter. That's what is convenient to create a prefilter with all on the first place. So when we don't want to have a prefilter, we can have this option that is the same. Now we're going to choose this prefilter, elements, that we just created. Okay, save and exit. So let's refresh. Oh, maybe it's better to start another one. Start another one. And as you can see, we only have 3 options to choose from in the account field now, okay? Because we have the prefilter. And the prefilter says that only these 3 elements can be chosen in here, okay? So sometimes it's very handy and very useful to have this option. Let's go and see other prefilters. So let's go back to structure. Sorry. We need to go to the dictionary of terms. Look for the prefix, count, the prefilters, okay? And then we can add more if we wanted to. So we can also add them by classes. So in here, if we expand, we could choose a class, or we could choose that only the clients one are the elements that appear, okay, the ones that belong to this class. We can also do it by branches, okay. Here is all, so it wouldn't be very useful. I could also create, let's name it another way. I could also create one that, for example, is clients and macro, for example. So, sorry, suppliers and macro. Suppliers and macro here. And accept selection. Okay. So it only shows us this. And as we can see, there's plenty of possibilities. Okay. So let's delete all these ones. And let's leave maybe and use this one. Yeah. Save. Save and exit. Prefixes and suffixes, and if we go to accounts now, proceed, as you can see, only the ones that belong to the class clients will be shown. Okay, so that's a very useful option. So as we have just seen, we can pre-filter any prefixes of any family. Let's imagine I have a family of records, so let's go to family of records, documentary group, and in this family of records I have a prefix. This editor is a prefix, and a suffix, like the editor's email. So as soon as I add this, I have a value, okay, that is the suffix, that is to say the AP2 email account. Let's see what it would happen if I change something when I'm using a prefix and a suffix in a family of records, and also in a process form is the same. So let's see what happens if I change this to gmail.com. Save and exit. Let's refresh, go back there, and as we can see, we have the previous email, so it hasn't changed it. The system has changed it back. Let's observe this as well in a process, in the form here. So for example, if I go to account, proceed, Aldi, it comes out with the right email account, so I'm going to change it to Gmail. Save, I go out, refresh, go back in, and as we can see, the email is back again to the one we have previously. It hasn't saved the one we just changed. Let's see why. So if we go to settings and we go to the form properties, here in actions, when opening the form, we have selected update suffixes from record to panel. So when we change something in the panel, okay, it doesn't get saved in the record. So if we deselect this and select this one instead, so update suffixes from the panel, so everything we change to the record. Let's go and see what happens now. So let's start a process. Let's choose Adli again. And we have Hotmail again, so let's change it to Gmail and see what happens this time. Save. Let's go back. Refresh. Back in here. And we can see that now it has changed, okay? So the change I made before, it's been accepted by the system. In this case, the system has taken the info from the form and changed it to the record instead. And with this, we have finished with the blog. We have learned about all the different possibilities when working with prefixes and suffixes, and how can we set them so they are filled out automatically. How to add a viewer, and that they can be used in families of records forms and processes forms. And how can we update them in the panel, taking the information from the record or the other way around, depending on the settings. Now it's your turn to do part 2.